So, good morning, all of you. So, here we are again on the fifth session of our FDP. This session of today will be chaired by Dr. Kanupriya Gupta, HOD of Global School of Business and Commerce, Global University. So, Dr. Kanupriya Gupta, she has a vast experience of research and teaching as well, and she's a PhD from IIT Roorkee. So today's session, she will be taking on how to conduct literature review, what are the different methodologies of conducting literature review, how you should go about doing your literature review, and also how to report that literature review in your thesis or in the research article you are writing. So here she will be discussing the various formats of giving references, of citing others' work, and how to search for prospective articles using Google Scholar and other means. So let me hand over the session now to Dr. Kanupriya Gupta. Ma'am, welcome, and you can take on from here.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ramesh. Good morning and a warm welcome to all of you who are there to attend this session, FDP session. And you've been investing a lot of your time and energy, and we hope that this session would be equally useful to you and as per your expectations. So, without any further delays, I'm starting with my session on literature review methodology. The earlier sessions were majorly on the statistical analysis of the data, and today's session is completely different from what was going on earlier. The point of including this session in this FDP was that for every research work, every other researcher do the literature review, but actually if we go into the details, too much of literature review papers are not available in every area. The simple reason being that the objective of literature review, the process of doing it, the nuances of writing it are not very much clear to all the people, to all the researchers, because basically this is an area where too much emphasis, too much deliberations are missing. So we included this session on literature review methodology so that everybody may get a simple idea that even literature review has some techniques, some processes, some essential do's and don'ts, which can turn the complete track of your research. It can change your research questions and can affect your hypothesis to a great extent. Now, when we talk about literature review, what is it? Basically, we understand that literature review, I think it would be now better visible to everybody. Now, literature review is basically means what every researcher understands, that whatever research has been done prior to it should be studied to understand what type of research is being done in this particular area. To an extent, this is not incorrect. That is very much relevant to understand what has been going on in the previous research. But for literature review, everybody knows that every topic, every area has been vastly researched. For every single word, every topic, thousands and lakhs of papers exist. If somebody is a new researcher, basically that person can stand confused from where to start, which studies to include, and to exclude which studies, so that he may get an accurate, informed decision based on the literature. So literature review is the building block of your research that you would be doing in the further course of action. If the literature review will not be up to the mark or up to the objective attainment of your research, then it can majorly break the whole reason of doing the research. So you definitely look forward to the existing knowledge. You search upon the various academic the platforms that you have, like Google Scholar, EBSCOhost, Xavier's, then the different other platforms that are available, and you find out different research papers and you collect whatever you are getting. But you should understand that a system, a process works behind it so that you get the accurate idea of from where to start and to where to go, where we should end now. So literature review is like collecting all the information that is available, but specifically to the objective of doing the research. So it is a systematic way of collecting and then synthesizing the available information. If your research is well informed, it is well conducted, then it creates a strong foundation for the knowledge that has existed and also gives you avenues for the future research. What different objectives you can take for the future research, what is its scope, and in what directions you can move forward with this type of existing research. So there are two types of terms that exist regarding this: literature review and review of literature. Usually the researchers, the scholars majorly are even confused in these two terms, whether it is called literature review or is it a review of literature. They sound very much similar, but they are poles apart. They are very different to each other. In the research, when you have a particular research topic, specifically for PhD, I'm saying, when you have a particular research area, you have a topic, then you need to study all the existing research work that exists in that particular area. So you'll be going through different types of literature that is available in that particular area. When you're studying, you're reviewing all the available information, all the literature that exists regarding it, then that is a literature review process. Okay, so you thematically go on with all the available papers that you find out in that particular area. Whereas review of literature means when you specifically pick a study, right? Like you take some book or you take some particular research paper, some research which has been done in some part of the globe. So you particularly take one study and you do the review of that study. You analyze it, you critically analyze it, that particular piece of work, and then you give your opinions, your findings, and your viewpoints on that particular work by using other supporting sources. Like if there is some theory and you are suggesting some counter theory to it, then you may use the other resources also, that whatever I am saying is also backed by these different researchers. Therefore, I am opposing this theory suggested by this particular author. I hope I'm clear to everybody.
Actually, ma'am,
Write in the message.
actually, I would like to remind the participants again that if you have any question, you can write it down in the chat box. And if Dr. Kanupriya Gupta, if she allows, then earlier, ma'am, actually we were having some resource person who would take question in the between of the session. So if you allow, then I can also tell participants that they can unmute they can unmute and directly ask questions from you in between, or otherwise we have a session of 10 minutes reserved at the end for the question answers. So
it's fine. So I think we can proceed with the presentation. The people may keep on writing, sending their questions through the chat box, and if you may keep an eye on it, and if you feel that something needs immediate attention, then we can take that question at that same time. Otherwise, we may talk in the end of the session.
Okay, thanks a lot. Fine? Yes, absolutely. So participants can write down their questions in the chat box if they have any. You may proceed, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So next we come to the importance of literature review. Now, what is the importance of literature review? Is it really very important to put too much focus on a particular chapter of the complete thesis? So yes, definitely it is a very important, very crucial step, because basically it is the first step in your research that you would be taking in understanding all the theoretical concepts related to that particular topic, what different type of terminologies exist in that particular area. You'll be preparing a complete bibliography, which is like the list of sources that you have studied, you have consulted to arrive a particular research objective. Then you also understand what all type of research has been done earlier in this area, so that your research may not be just a repetition of the work done by somebody else earlier. You understand that what are the different new avenues that have not been answered in the research, which you could undertake as your objective of the research area. So it helps in building up the scope of your research. It helps in building up the research questions and research objectives for your own research. And it also helps you in identifying that what type of quality work you can do, which does not exist and will be actually a valuable contribution to the existing world of academics. So the literature review is very important, where the research method that you would be using further in your research will also be coming out of this process of literature review. Then whatever work has been done earlier, of course, it would be like the different directions have been chosen, and different techniques have been chosen by different researchers in different areas and different areas of application. Like somebody might be studying in technical branches, somebody might be studying in production, somebody might be studying in policy making, somebody might be studied in an area like the decision making, application, management. Different areas are there. So when you synthesize all this information and you draw some conclusions out of it, so you are in a condition to state that with this particular branch of knowledge, this and these techniques have been used, and these type of studies have been done, and these type of conclusions have been drawn from all these resources. So from all the scattered resources, you come out with a definite, a polished kind of result drawn from the existing research. Now the other question that comes, that why you should write a literature review? Is it very important to write it? Majorly, we do the previous research to just see the findings that have already been done by the previous researchers. And based on those findings, you can build upon the aim of your study, why you are going to do this study. In this, the aim of the study, it is an important part of the thesis that you build upon, that what is the aim of this particular study that you do. In this, you use the references of the earlier research that was done. You collect evidences given by the different researchers, and based on that, you frame your research questions. Now, when you frame those research questions, how you are going to answer those research questions, that strategy, that pathway is also built based on this literature review. So there can be a number of objectives that why you are writing this literature review, like you want to evaluate the existing theories, different type of theories exist for a particular topic. So you want to find out those theories, you want to evaluate them, you want to find out the relevance of those theories on a particular area, maybe a particular industry or a particular problem. So you evaluate those theories, and then you find out that yes, this question has been left unanswered, and then you build up a track to find the answer to that unanswered question. So you collect the research evidences for a particular area, you explore all forms of knowledge existing in that particular area. All forms means when the same type of knowledge has been applied in different areas like medicals and technology, and then paramedical, and then management, business, different type of areas exist. you identify the gaps and build your future research on it, and you also develop the conceptual models. Then coming to the steps for the literature review. So the phase 1 comes design. Design means you yourself need to understand that why this literature review is required. What is the basic objective of doing this literature review? What contribution you want to make as an academician to the world of academics, to the world of knowledge by doing this particular research, and then by doing this particular review. Who will be the potential audience of this review? For whom you are doing this research? Will the policymakers will get benefited? Will the common society will get benefited? The managers, the practitioners, the bureaucrats? What is your audience, right? Or you may be giving a support evidence to the existing researchers. So you have to find out the potential audience who would be using your review further and building up their research based on this type of reviews. So a specific purpose of doing the review, literature review, should exist, and then the research questions should be there, that these are the questions that I want to answer, and for those you do the literature review process. And based on these only, you build up the strategy or the method that you would be using for doing the literature review. The second phase is to conduct the review process, for which you have a definite plan, excuse me, for which you will have a definite plan that how you are going to find out the studies related to it, how you would be selecting the articles. As I earlier said, for every topic, the thousands and lakhs of research papers exist. So what is the practical plan of selecting the studies and narrowing down that to a fixed number, so that you study only those studies and you reject the studies which although are in that particular area but may not be very much relevant to your research area. And then you select the research process, the how you are going to document. Different styles of documentation of the literature review also exist. So you study the process, how you will be documenting it, and then what will be the quality of the search process. Phase 3 is the analysis process. When you have searched all the research papers, you have narrowed down to a specific number of the studies, then also analysis of the literature is also very important, right? Sorry. Why analysis is there? Because once you collect all the things and you do not know how to arrange them, what type of information is being given by this collection of the research papers, if you yourself is not clear about it, that what conclusion, what information this amalgamation of the different research papers is giving, it is of no use to you as well as the other people who are reading your research. It is of no use to them also. So you should be very much clear that I am collecting these research papers using this methodology, and then I'll be analyzing these research papers, this information in this way, so that some concrete conclusion can be drawn. And the last process is structuring and writing the review. Now, how do you structure your literature review process? Then again, a lot of confusion exists, because as I earlier said, a lot many researchers are there. Everybody is having their own style of writing. Everybody is just informing whatever they have found out, whatever tools and techniques they have applied, and what were their findings, what are the future gaps. Everybody writes it in every paper. So it is not possible that you would be taking every study, you will be taking everybody's objective and their tools and the future gaps they are given, and you'll be answering every gap that you find out. No, it is not possible. So this should be the first thing that should be very much clear in the mind, that we need the studies only related to this particular area, and accordingly you structure your literature review. I take an example. For example, I want to study the sustainable development. Okay. Now, sustainable development is a huge area which exists almost for every industry, for the whole civilization, for the different kind of policies in every area, for every industry. Sustainable development is being talked about. On the United Nations front, it is being talked about since 1960. So which particular branch you are going to take, how will you realize it? For that, first you need to clearly understand we are talking of sustainable development of which area. I mean, are we talking about some production industry? Are we talking it about the service industry? Are we talking it about the civilization, human civilization? Are we talking it in the terms of the natural resources? Are we talking about the policies being made at the national level or international level or by the United Nations? So we need to have an objective first, a clarification in our mind that what type of sustainable development we need to talk about. If I'm talking about the sustainable development regarding the human civilization, then in that case, again, I want to narrow down regarding human civilization. Are we talking about the future generations or about the present generations? When we talk about sustainable development, it's quite obvious we'll be talking about the future generations. So when we talk about future generations, we need to understand that what are the problems. Is sustainability is an issue for the coming generations? Will they be there? If we know that the living conditions would not be suitable and the future generations will not be there, then the ultimate objective of studying sustainable development for the future generations fades away, right? So again, we have a question, then why are we going to study it? So we need to find the answer that what all has been done and suggested and thought by the different agencies that have been working from the 20th century on this, what different policies they have made, what type of resources they talk about, and what about what are the different type of the crucial resources that they think are important for the survival of the humankind, and they think these things should be preserved. Then you need to find out how these policies are being implemented by the industry, by the governments of different nations, and are the living conditions suitable even now? And we are talking about future generations. So the relevance of that topic for the present generations. So it's a huge area. And a lot of confusion can exist. What to study, from where to study, and where to stop. A lot of confusion can exist. So the answer to all these questions and to all this confusion is when you structure your literature review. So how do you structure? The further types and methods we'll be discussing in the coming slides. But for writing this literature review, you need to have a structure that, yes, first we'll be explaining the development, then what is sustainability and what is sustainable development, then what type of policies exist or which international agencies are working on it and what are their policy guidelines. So you need to have a plan for this. You need to structure all the literature review in these particular brackets so that for every question you have a relevant answer supported by the relevant literature. I hope I'm clear up till now. So in the next step, I'm moving towards the types of literature review. When you do Google search on the types of literature review, you may come across a number of categories. Some people have given even up till 6 to 7 categories of literature review. But majorly, only 3 types of categories exist in the literature review process. 3 types of literature review is the scientific methods that have been adopted and have been documented in the literature. These 3 steps are systematic literature review, which is also known as meta-analysis. Then second one is the traditional literature review, which is called narrative literature review. And the third one is integrative or meta-synthesis literature review. What are all these and what are its nuances? we'll be studying in the coming slides. So the first one is systematic literature review. Now, very much clear from the term itself, systematic. That means there is a fixed process for it that you will be following to conduct the literature review. So in this process, you compare all type of studies, quantitative as well as qualitative, and you have a fixed methodology for that, a kind of a statistical analysis that how you are going to select the studies, which studies will be included in your thesis, in your research, and which studies cannot be included in your review process. So a systematic review identifies, appraises, and synthesizes. So it identifies the relevant literature, which is very much relevant to your particular research area. It appraises, that means we study it completely. We find out the strong points of each research paper, which is a major contribution to our research also. And then we synthesize, we collect and we summarize everything that has been available to us. We synthesize all the evidence in order to answer a specified research question. So it is a rigorous approach which has a proper process. In the further slide, I'll be showing you how it is being done. And then you critically analyze it, whatever research is there with you, and you explicitly define the methods that how you are selecting the studies. It helps in increasing the reliability of the other people who are studying your research paper. Then meta-analysis. Meta-analysis means when you combine the results from different studies to arrive at a particular conclusion. You explain the patterns and the relationships that exist between variables based on the existing literature, and then you integrate and draw conclusion out of it. This is also usually called the qualitative literature review process. Now, on this slide, the examples are there of how the systematic literature review is done. If you see this flow diagram, which is visible on the right side of the screen, number of publications from search strategy, wherever you searched, you took the Google Scholar or you took EBSCO or you took Veligra, whatever you took. For example, the research papers that turned up were 3,505. Now, it is not practically possible to go and study all those research papers to include in your study. So you need to narrow down, you need to cut down some of the research papers. So publications excluded after screening the title and abstract. Then you go through all the titles and abstracts of the research paper, and then the person has narrowed down to 3,441. That means some of the research papers were excluded here only after studying the title or the abstract of the research paper. Now the next, in this particular diagram, the person has straight away come to n is equal to 64, number of full publications retrieved, which is not the correct method, because the person has not shown how he has narrowed down to this number 64. So if you're writing a systematic literature review and you want to write a good literature review which can be accepted in good journals, you need to open the process, how you narrow down from 3,441 to 64. So you need to show all this. So here comes in picture the criteria which is visible on the left side of the screen. Criteria for including and excluding publications in the review. Here the criteria has been developed by the researcher according to his objective, that which studies can be included and which studies should be excluded. Include if it focuses on adults with learning difficulties, focuses on acute inpatient general hospital or emergency department settings, reports data issues pertinent to health, welfare or safety whilst in the general hospital setting, and exclude if it does not include a sufficient focus on people with learning difficulties. Exclude if it is not primarily focused on adults, if it is focusing on the older people or on the children, these studies would be excluded. Is not primarily focused on general hospital settings. So the person has a complete objective that he needs to study only those research papers which focus on hospital settings and learning difficulties on adults. So accordingly, he has narrowed down to this number 64, right? And then publications excluded after reading full text 54. Again, he read the complete. It is very much practically possible to read 64 papers. So after reading the complete script of 64 papers, he narrowed down to 54. And then publications included 8 publications not meeting full inclusion criteria but reporting useful information 2. Out of these 54 papers also, 8 and 2, these 10 studies were such studies which were very much relevant to the area of the researcher and which has been included in the research according to the criteria developed by the researcher. Now this again is a small example of a script from a thesis where the person has explained the complete process. How did they do the systematic literature review? I'll be reading out it. In order to do so, research papers were selected from 7 data sources. So the data sources that were used by the researcher has also been opened here. EBSCO, Scopus, Chester, Taylor and Francis, Emerald, ScienceDirect and Springer Lab. The results were then filtered by limiting the search to full text and English. Google Scholar will turn up every paper that has been published. So you narrowed down whose full text was available and the paper should be in English language. The research papers published between 2004 and February 2013 were reviewed. This is a script from an old thesis. So that's why it's written Feb 2013. If it would have been some recent research, then definitely the year would have changed. In this particular area, the person has taken 2004 because the area of the research that the researcher chose was very much introduced in the year 2004, or the publications that the person could find started from 2004. So this area was, this time span was taken. So when you give the systematic literature review in your thesis, then also you need to open the time span that which research papers were being taken by you from which year to beginning of the time and the ending of the time. All the information of value co-creation was available in the form of reports and publications of various consulting firms, working papers, textbooks, government reports, postgraduate and doctoral dissertations. None of them was selected because the information in these sources is taken from the journals themselves. So repetition was happening, thus making information repetitive and duplicated. Further, practitioners and academics alike use journals as sources of first-hand information, which is a common practice of using journals as the first-hand information. The author used value co-creation as a keyword. Which keywords were used to find out the research papers relevant to the study, that has also been disclosed here. Keyword along with customer in the and operator. What type of operators you are using in your search, and or not, that is also important and should disclose in the thesis. The cumulative results from the 7 search directories gave 187 full text articles. Abstracts from all articles were read to determine the relevance. Only 101 articles were found relevant and studied in detail. Most of the excluded articles discussed value co-creation in different contexts like country, modeling, etc., and were not found suitable for review purposes. So that is another example that how this person used systematic literature review in their thesis. And this is the presentation of the literature review done by the same researcher whose small extract I read in the previous slide. So we were doing the research on the bottom of pyramid BOP and value co-creation for BOP customers. So here they categorized their literature review in these different type of categories, like overview of BOP, value co-creation, then distribution of articles according to time period, country, journal, developed versus developing country, methodology. That means the articles were even differentiated based on the time period. In which time were they publishing these, the countries where these studies were done, the journals which published these type of papers, and then whether the research was done in some developed or developing countries, and the different type of methodologies chosen for doing this research on BOP customers. Then elements of value co-creation, gaps that were identified from the literature, and the future direction in terms of actors. Actors of the value co-creation in BOP customers mean like the factors which you talk about. So what were the different actors of value co-creation? How the interaction of the variables is happening? What is the relationship between them? And then organization of the factors, the resources, value and values means the value for a particular individual and the values for the collaboration of the customers. And then theory building and expansion. So this way they categorized the whole literature review, and therefore it was called as a systematic literature review because different categories were developed in a systematic manner. Then the next one is narrative or semi-systematic literature review. This is the second method, which is similar to the systematic literature review, but it differs from the earlier one. How? We'll just find out. It is designed for topics that have been conceptualized differently and studied by various group of researchers within diverse disciplines, and that hinder a full systematic review process. This is the major difference between systematic and semi-systematic. In systematic, they're very much clear right from the beginning that what plan of action you need to take, which studies would be included and which would be excluded. The studies which are not according to the scope of your research are excluded. So like in the earlier example, if the person wanted to talk about a hospital setting, so he took the studies only relevant for a hospital setting. He excluded all the studies that were not done in the context of a hospital setting. But in semi-systematic literature review or narrative literature review, you will take all the studies which are done in diverse disciplines by different researchers. You will not exclude based on this that this is out of the scope of my study, so we cannot take this study. No, you have to take all the studies, and then you review every single article that is relevant to the topic, and then you critically summarize and draw conclusion and identify the gaps to build up your research question. It is also called followed by, when you collect all the studies, then you follow by the qualitative analysis. In the previous one, it was like a statistical process. If the study was not relevant to you, you immediately narrow it out, you drop it out, and you narrow down to a specific number. Like in one extract I've shown you, 101 research papers were chosen and then studied. But here you will take all the research papers, you will study them, you will draw out the conclusion which are relevant to your topic, although they may not be in the setting as thought by you, they may be in a different setting of a different discipline, but you will take the learning from it, and then you will qualitatively analyze it after the collection of the literature. Then you will qualitatively analyze that these are the learnings that are useful to me and should be taken, and these research papers should be excluded because they do not offer any learning for me. This is an example again of the narrative literature review. Now the person has taken the role of healthcare customer and professional in each practice approach. This the person wants to find out healthcare customer and professional. In this particular slide, you can see two settings that he has taken. That regarding traditional medical model, what has been said. Secondly, regarding psychosocial model, what has been said. In this research paper by McCall Kennedy in 2017, a number of other practice approaches were also given. For this particular presentation, I've taken just two, but he had taken all other settings that existed regarding the healthcare customer of different type of medical settings. What was said? he took the learning from each. Like for the traditional medical model, what are the core elements? What was the role of the healthcare customer? And what was the role of the healthcare professional? Similarly, for biopsychosocial model also, he has taken the elements, role of healthcare customer, role of healthcare professional. So of different disciplines, what was being said in the literature, that was taken, and then finally the conclusion was drawn from it. So when you build this table for the literature review, it gets easier for you to identify that what type of different themes are being developed, and a definite conclusion can be drawn based on these studies. The next one is meta-synthesis or integrative literature review. Now in meta-synthesis, like in the systematic, we had a complete focus, narrowed focus. In the semi-systematic, we broadened our scope and we took the studies of different disciplines as well. In this meta-synthesis, we need to find out the studies that will enable new theoretical frameworks and perspectives to emerge. Our attempt is not just to collect the existing literature and whatever it is suggesting. We need a more creative collection of data in which we can combine the different perspectives and insights from different fields, and we can come up with a new type of suggestion for the theoretical framework development. Right? This is the objective which differentiates it from the earlier two methods. The objective is not just to collect the data, but to collect the data which offers us insights so that some new theoretical perspective can be developed. So it results in the advancement of knowledge rather than simply describing the particular research area. So 4 forms of synthesis from integrative literature review. This technique has been used by this author Tureko, 2005. So he has given how he developed the 4 forms of synthesis by using integrative literature review method. So he developed a research agenda which he derived from the critical analysis of the literature. Then he developed a taxonomy or the classification of the constructs that he was using, that how these were defined in the earlier research and how is he going to use it in his research. He also collected the alternative models or the conceptual frameworks that existed so that a new branch of thought process, a new conceptual model can be developed based on these. So he collected the models and their argumented models, which were offered in the argument against that particular existing model. He collected those also so that some new insights can be brought in and a new conceptual framework can be developed. And then meta theory, the integration and synthesis of literature review so that some theoretical foundation can be developed and a new kind of theory can be proposed. This is another example of this integrative literature review, where he took the authors and the aim of writing that particular research paper was taken herein. The definition used by these different researchers regarding integrative literature review is being mentioned, that how are they defining it. So when you have a table of this type, only 2 authors are there, but it can be like 50 authors or 60 authors. So when you have this type of table with you, you can clearly see that how different authors are defining it and what are the striking differences between the definitions taken. And from those differences, you can build a new definition or new insights can be gained, that how people are differing and what is the reason of this difference and how you can come up with a new kind of definition. What different type of stages have been proposed by them to conduct the integrative literature review. Like the first author gave 5 stages, but the second author gave 10 stages of literature review, then their contribution to the academic world. So in this table, all the 3 processes have been summarized, the systematic, semi-systematic and integrative. I've already gone through in details regarding all these, so I'm just skipping this slide. Now comes the next important question. how to write a literature review. You might have read a number of guidelines regarding this, that how literature review should be conducted, and the three processes related to it, like systematic, semi-systematic, and integrative. I have talked about all these processes, these are the different processes through which literature review is done. And according to these techniques, the process of writing literature review also differs. So systematic, again, you will have the defined categories, and you will be mentioning all the relevant literature for a particular category under that heading only. And similarly, in semi-systematic and integrative, you write down whatever information you get about different disciplines, and then you summarize it, then you analyze that what different opinions you are getting from it. So your writing style will very much depend upon the methodology chosen for the literature review. And all authors are expected to follow accepted convention for reporting. What are the accepted conventions? That the process of selecting all the research papers, why you selected them, why you rejected some studies, chosen only this area, transparency in all this process should be there. So transparency should be there, wherein you report all the things, that why are you are doing this. The method for collecting the literature, and how you identify it and analyze it, and how you are going to report it. Right? So complete transparency should always be maintained when you are reporting your literature review. And the revision of the literature review, like when you do the literature review, again it is from different types. So how is it contributing to your research area, your research? That relationship should also be clearly defined, so that you can understand that where and how this literature review is completely it is contributing to the branch of knowledge. This is again an example where a simple table has been developed when the person is doing the research. It is again an important step, important process. When you do literature review, you are reading a paper and you think that you will document it later on, or you'll remember it. No, it never happens like this. It is not possible for you to read on research papers and remember every time what author said what, in which year, and which technique was used. So the basic rule that should be followed by every researcher should be that this type of table should always be ready with you whenever you are studying a paper. Document all the information related to that particular paper there and then. Even if you read one research paper in one day, then also document it, that single research paper in your table there and then, because then only you will be in a condition to find out later on that which studies are very much relevant to your area, which can be included and which can not be included, which should be excluded. How many qualitative studies are there, how many quantitative studies are there. If you need to use some research tool, like you are using SPSS, or you are using a MOS, or you are using some other technique, then how many researchers have done this type of study using these techniques? All this information would be immediately available to you by having a look at this table. So this table should always be prepared right from the first paper that you read, and the information related to the research paper should be documented. What are the important points that are documented in this literature review table? Where you mention the authors of the study, you mention the year in which this particular research was done, you mention the country, in which country this particular research was done, and what was the objective, why this research was done, what was the objective with which this particular research was done, which is mentioned as study purpose or aim in the last column. You can mention it in the beginning also, what was the objective of taking the research. Then you write the methodology, that what type of methodology was chosen, whether it was a qualitative study or a quantitative study, whether they used some questionnaire or they did semi-structured in-depth interviews with the people. Qualitative study was there, whether they did content analysis, thematic analysis, what type of methodology was chosen, and this study was done on which sample size, in which country, what was the sample number, and how these people were studied, which method was chosen to study them, and then the last column, the findings of the whole research process. This author gave up these findings. And if you are a scholar and you need to find out the gap also, you may add another column in the end where you write the gap. Every author who writes a research paper in the end suggests that I have done this and this study, but these things were left in this particular research, which can be answered in the future research. So there you get the gaps, that these things were left unanswered by this particular researcher. So in that similar table, you can write all the gaps given by different authors, and in last, when you have like 60 or 80 or 100 studies in your this table, then from this table you can see that these are the different type of gaps suggested by different authors, and from this gap now you can define your research questions and the scope of your research, that you will be doing research in this area because these number of authors have suggested these type of gaps, and this should be answered by my research. Another important thing when you make this table should be that you should always remember to use the most recent studies. Like if it is 2020, you should have all the studies of 2020 up till the past 5 to 6 years. And importantly, the base papers. Base papers means when that particular area was studied and published in the beginning. What was the first paper which introduced this particular subject in the academics? What was the meaning of that person who introduced this thing in the academics? What was his objective? What did he wanted to find out? You need to find those base papers also. Usually base paper is a single publication, but if you are able to find out 3 to 4 publications in the same year, then those papers can also be taken which work as a base paper. So always remember to include all the base papers related to your research topic and all the relevant studies of past 5 to 6 years. All the recent studies should be taken so that you have a well-informed information in your research that all these things are going on in my area and these are the recent developments and these things are still left unanswered, which should be answered by my research. This is another example. Like I showed you a table earlier in the previous slide, that how the person was documenting all the literature that the person was studying. This is another example. On the left side, you can see the the names of the authors, and on the top side, you can see the different factors which has been affecting the healthcare professionals. These different factors, like Emonu has talked about care provision, a tick mark has been done here. He talks about communication, he talks about staff attitude, he talks about staff knowledge, he talks about supporters and care, but he does not talk about physical environment. So nothing has been mentioned here. Similarly, for other authors, for example, I take this Sony 2006, it does not talk about care provision and communication. He talks about staff attitude, staff knowledge, supporters, and he also does not talk about physical environment. He only takes 3 factors, and based on that, he has done his research. So this table is also prepared at the same time so that afterwards you have a clear picture that which author talks about which factors and which factor was the most talked about or the most important factor considered by majority of the researchers, which majority of the people studied and did not left it in their study. Now in the last you can see the total. So what does this total means? That out of this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are 9 authors. Out of 9 authors, 7 talked about care provision, 7 talked about communication, and 7 talked about staff knowledge. So these 3 factors have been considered the most important factors by the majority of the researchers. And after these Another two important factors were staff attitude and supporters and peers. And then physical environment factor was the one which was talked less. Different factors which were studied by different researchers, and through this table you could make out that which factor was considered the most important by most of the researchers and which factors were considered less important. For example, the physical environment factor was considered less important by the researchers. Now, in this slide, you can see the different suggestions that have been made by different researchers related to the influences that promote or compromise health and safety, strategies to promote health, safety, and welfare, and implications for research and policy. These type of columns have also been prepared, wherein the different suggestions given by different authors have been narrowed down. Now, all these are the different ways, different methods of collaborating and analyzing and summarizing, synthesizing your literature review data in different forms. These are the just examples, three types of examples that I have shown you. You can use a mix of 2 to 3 methods. You can follow a single method, or you can use all 3 to 4 methods. Different type of tables can be created. It all depends upon the objective of the researcher. What is the objective of the researcher and why he wants to do this research? The decision to choose these tables will depend upon that. You're using systematic, you are using meta-systematic, or you are using integrative approach. That will decide that what type of tables you are going to create and how you are going to summarize and synthesize your data. And the last slide, that is how to get your literature review published. We see a lot of papers which are published using the quantitative tools, but there are very few papers which are available on the literature review of every topic. The basic problem is people do not understand that what actually is expected from them when they are sending their literature review paper and the paper stands rejected by the journal. So what are the different problems and which major points should always be kept in mind by the researcher when he is communicating his paper? I'll be talking about those points. So always describe in enough detail that how did you conduct your literature review, the transparency, that how you selected the papers, how you rejected them, how many papers turned up, which studies you took, in which countries, of which methodologies. Complete transparency of the whole process should always be there in your research paper. If it is not there in your literature review, it creates a doubt in the mind of the reviewer that how did this person arrive at this particular conclusion. So always remember that to analyze the quality of the work done by the researcher, transparency in the process is very important, right? And along with following the transparency in the process, also always remember to take good quality journal papers. If you are taking good quality papers of some reputed journal, like in management, the Scopus is just the foundation, but you follow ABDC category, right? So if you chose the papers from A star, and B category, leave alone even C category, if you take the papers from these journals, which are published in these journals, then all the references that these people have taken will also be from the good journals. So if you take one paper from a good journal, then the references that it has, maybe 50, 80, 100, 120 references are there. All those references will also be from good journals. So you ultimately, from one research paper, you get access to almost 100 other research papers which are of good quality, and it becomes a chain, right? When you go through those papers, again you get further some research papers. So it becomes a chain. All the papers then you will be studying will be of good quality. So remember to take good quality research papers, include those references in your literature review, follow complete transparency in choosing the papers, and then write your literature review paper. Now, usually the people feel that if it take too many research papers, then they will stand confused. They will not be able to handle it, which again becomes a major problem in getting your literature review published. So always do an in-depth review, follow a proper process, like I explained, using the tables, using diagrammatic representation, like we did in the choice of the factors taken for the study. So do the diagrammatic representation of that, and according to that, then include as many studies as possible. The picture that I shown you regarding the factors, only 9 factors were there. It happens that factors even run in 17 and 20 and 30. In such huge numbers, even factors are there. Prepare an exhaustive table related to that, because that will improve the quality of your literature review chapter, and it will help in getting a good publication of the literature review paper. Then present and explain the results of the review clearly. What we usually do, we take different research papers, we report that what did they study and what did they find out, but what was my opinion as a researcher? What conclusion did I draw after reading so many studies? What inferences that I make from this literature review? That is usually missing. And that is the most important contribution that a researcher can make from his literature review process. If you just report what has been done earlier, then that was already there in the literature. It already existed. There is no point of publishing it. But when you add your conclusion, your inferences, you give supporting theories for it, that these and these things you find out, and these literature, these papers also support it, and this theory is also in accordance with this. The conclusions drawn from this literature review are also in accordance with this theory. Then it makes a strong foundation for your literature review paper, and the chances of getting it published also increases. Right? So always discuss, always explain in your research paper that what did you find out from this, what is the meaning of this research, these results, and how it is relevant to other researchers. So provide a valuable contribution to the field of academics, and always use a good research methodology so that the factor of quality is always there in your literature review paper, and different type of analysis can be further done on the conclusion drawn by you. So these are the different references that I have used in my research paper. So I think this will help you. Danish, are you there?
Hello?
Danish, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. But actually, I'm also facing some kind of network issue.
Okay. So was my presentation complete?
Yes, ma'am, it was complete. Should we conclude the session now?
Yeah, if some questions are there, then
yes,
we can
of
take
course.
it.
Yes. So the participants, so actually we have the first question here. It is from Himanshu Ahuja. Ma'am, can you please explain what is meant by publishing literature review? Is it about entire paper, or we are talking about literature review alone?
See, in every area, only research papers that only talk about the literature review also exist, right? In that particular paper, you talk about all the different studies that exist in that particular area. You talk about different methodologies that different researchers have taken and how they have analyzed the different factors or the relationship between different factors. So a complete paper is there. which is published just for the literature review, right? So when we say publishing LR, that means the complete research paper will be just about literature review and no data and no analysis, nothing would be there, only reporting what other people have done and adding your inferences in it gets that literature review paper published. Yes, it is completely secondary research based. Primary research data collection is not there. You do the primary data collection when you have an objective and you want to find out something. So regarding that, you collect the primary data. But for the literature review paper, you just follow the secondary data that is available.
Any other questions? Participants can ask the questions. Now it's the right time to ask questions from our resource person.
There's another question from Tanzim. Tanzim is asking, how am I supposed to know what type of LR am I going to be using in my research? Now, as I explained in my previous slides, I think you must have joined a little late. But in the beginning of my presentation, I talked about that when you want to select the literature review methodology, then the objective, that why you are doing this literature review, what is the objective, what is that essential thing that you need to find out. That will explain that what type of method, what research literature review method you are going to use in your review process. 3 types of processes are there, which I've already explained. And if you will see the recording again, you'll get the answer of this question, that according to your objective, whatever you want to study, that will decide you want to use systematic. If it is only qualitative research, qualitative research process, okay, not the qualitative research, but the qualitative method. So you want to use just a qualitative, or you want to collect all the literature existing in every field and then analyze it qualitatively, or you want to find out all the literature existing around it and then you want to find out some new insights from it, right? So this will decide that how you are going to do the literature review. I hope I have answered your question, Tanzim. So
actually,
Himanshu has
one more question.
Yeah, I could see it. He has one more question. Can we write LR as it is written in previous papers, or we have to reframe the language? Again, there are rules for it. For good journals, I'm talking. I'm not talking about even the UGC journals. I'm talking about the journals which are Scopus and ABDC only. So you have strict rules regarding it. First thing, if it is definition of some particular term, then the definition can never be changed by any researcher. So you should always have double inverted commas. Quotes should always be there for the whole sentence that you are completely copy pasting from other researcher, right? You need to put it into double inverted commas, and you have to mention the reference, that this author gave the definition of this and this as this. You'll put it into double inverted commas because that is a complete copy paste. Okay. Now, second rule, because whatever you're writing in literature review is obviously taken from the other secondary data sources. So everything has been inspired from other researchers. So the best practice of writing literature review is you should write it in your own terms. You go back, you read all the good papers, and then you have to make a systematic flow of the statements. So you'll write everything in your own language. But if you're writing something for which complete evidence needs to be given, which you cannot claim on your own without any research background, so in that case, you will write the complete sentence in your own terms, and again you will give the reference of the author where his first name, comma, and the year of the study should be mentioned. If there is something which is very much inspired from the words of the same author, you don't have better words to put it in your own language, and you need to copy paste the complete statement. Again, double quotes would be there. If you are using, this is the fourth rule, if you are using some finding from other researcher and you are only changing a little bit of words, but the complete arrangement of words is similar to what the author has said, then you may use single inverted commas and then give the reference of the author. I think I've answered, Himanshu. Is that clear to you?
Yes, ma'am. And if you allow me, I would like to add one more thing into this question. Actually, Himanshu, whenever, as Dr. Kanupriya said, that whenever you are copying the exact sentences, mostly this happens in case of definitions of certain terms. Then in that case, when you have copied the exact sentences, first, as Dr. Kanupriya said, that you need to put that sentence inside double quotation. And at the end of that sentence, you also need to provide the page number in this case. See, actually, when you have just changed the... Yeah.
If it is a book, then you have to write the page numbers. If it is a research paper, then you can avoid writing the page number.
But some of the journals, actually journals also have their different formatting rules.
Yes.
So some of them ask for page numbers also. And just to add one more thing, that you have to give reference of almost everything except the very known facts, scientific facts, like the sun rises in the east and sets down in the west. So for this, you don't need to give any kind of reference. But if you are saying anything in your research paper, in your literature review, you try to give reference for each and every point you are trying to make. But the things which you have inferred from the paper, you don't need to give reference for that. Suppose you have identified a research gap, that is your own input into the paper. So this is your own idea that this particular research question needs to be addressed. So in this case, you do not need to give any kind of reference. Now, ma'am, we have another question from Zach. I think you can read it.
Yes, from where I can get the paper listed in ABDC journals. See, ABDC is an agency, Australian Business Deans Council, which publishes a list of journals which are quality journals, and it is very much available on their site. For your convenience, Dr. Danish will help me in this, and he will upload a list of ABDC journals in the FDP group on website. So, Dr. Danish, please help me on this.
Yes. And we are planning to put, yes, ma'am, we are planning to, upload the ABDC, the recent ABDC list, which was out in 2019, I guess. For 2020, we don't have a list yet. So, the 2019 list, we'll be uploading it soon on the WhatsApp group of the FDP. Now, Zakia Khan, I hope...
No, I need to answer it more. Zakia Khan, yes. For Zakia Khan, I need to answer it more. The list would be available to you. You can find the list yourself on the internet also. In that list, the journals are there from every available field of study. It would be from the medical field also, from the business, from the law, from the management, from the technical background. Different type of all the journals that are good journals are available in that list. If you are particularly interested in seeing the management journals, then that area is also mentioned after the name of those journals. The area is also mentioned that this journal is relevant in which area of study. So you need to narrow down your search in that list also. You have to find out the names of the journals according to the scope of your research paper. The type of the area in which your research paper is, you will have to find out the journals suitable for your requirement from that list. It's an exhaustive list which have ranking from A star, A, B, and C. Okay. She says she wants to know about the database like Scopus. Even Scopus has their own website. Like ABDC, Scopus has also their own website. They also publish a list of Scopus index journals which can be downloaded from their site, which has been recently updated also, right? So even that list can be shared by us. So Dr. Danish, please upload the list of Scopus, the list of ABDC journals, and the link of the website of both Scopus and ABDC.
In case, participants, in case the file is too big and we are facing any kind of problem in uploading it on the web WhatsApp group, then we will share the link of both Scopus database and the ABDC
Yes.
database. So there you can directly go, and once you have shortlisted a
Yes.
research journal, then you can type its title name there, and it will let you know, the database will let you know that whether it is in Scopus or not, or whether it is in ABDC or not. Now, ma'am, we have
And
another question from.
regarding, no, she has further extended her question. Sakia Khan has
Yeah.
extended her question. She is asking about the database, not only the list. So regarding database, these are the paid databases that the institute has to buy for the Scopus also and for the ABDC also. The easier way, which is usually available with everyone, is Google Scholar, right? Google has its own website of Google Scholar where research papers are there. So you can go to Google Scholar, and after finding the name of the journal from the list of journals of ABDC and Scopus, you find the papers from the advanced search section of Google Scholar. There you write the name of the journal, you write your research topic, and you find it. All the papers that are published in those journals will be there on your screen on Google, and there some PDFs are available and some PDFs are not available. So in the case when the PDFs are not available, you open the abstract, you'll get the email IDs of the authors. You can straight away send an email to the authors of those research papers and you can request them to send the research paper to you. Usually, I have also done this myself. The authors who write good quality papers, they're always in favor of academics, and they will send you the research paper themselves if you request them to send the research paper to you. So even if it is published in some paid journal or the subscription is costly, still the author will send you the research paper because he also wants that his research should reach the maximum people and the people should read it. So they will be sending you the research papers. Any other questions, Danish? Now we can take another question.
Ma'am, there's a question from Tanzim. She's asking, is there
Yes.
any ruling regarding the length of literature review, be it in thesis or be in research paper?
See, regarding literature review paper, there is a difference of fields majorly in this. When we talk about the business area, if the topic is such that too many studies are not available. So if you have a small number like 20, 30 papers which have been published up till now, so that will be enough. Okay. But if the area is well researched, then you might have to go for like almost 100 to 120 papers to write a good literature review for a good journal, right? This number usually crosses to 150 and 200 also, but that depends whether this area has been widely researched or not. If we go to the medical field, then in medical field, then for every variable, too many research papers are not available. They might be available for a very broad category, but if it is very targeted, your research study is very much targeted, then you narrow down to a very small number, which was visible in one of my slides also in one example, where the author had taken 23 research papers to publish his thesis. So if very few studies are available, then there is no choice but going with the existing papers, which are very small, like 23. Even then, that is fine. Whereas in technical side, in the technology area, engineering area, so many journals exist. Too much of research has been done. Too much has been published. So there also the number of research papers that you are reviewing goes higher. If you want to publish in a good journal, then definitely your literature review should be very in-depth, should be very vast, and you should go for a large number of research papers that you review. If you are going for a low quality journal, they might accept literature review paper with 40 to 50 papers even, but I suggest you to always go for good journals and do an in-depth analysis of at least 120, 130 papers to get your paper published.
Actually, Tanzim, it also depends upon the journal you are submitting. In case of research article, it also depends upon the journal in which you are submitting your paper. Most of the times, these journals, they have strict guidelines regarding the word limit. So you also have to make sure that you're not bypassing the word limit as prescribed by the journal. So in case of thesis, if the literature review is in question is about thesis, then you can be detailed as much as you can. But in case of journal, you also have to keep in mind the word limit prescribed by the journal. Any other questions by the participants? Hello, Kanu ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Danish.
So I don't think that now any other questions are there. So let us
So
call
all
it a day
doubts
for
have been
today.
clarified finally.
Yeah, maybe
Is there any
we're hoping
other
for the
further?
best
Yes, if there are any
for the
further
question.
doubts, any further
Actually, ma'am,
assistance required?
yeah, we will be sharing your email ID on the WhatsApp
Okay,
group. So if any of the
okay,
participants have any kind of query, they can directly get in touch with you.
okay,
So,
fine.
okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kanupriya, for such a detailed and such an informative session. See, actually, a literature review, it's very important because it is the story which we are going to tell in our research article. So without
Yes,
story,
definitely.
there is without
No actors and no characters without a proper story. So a proper story should be there, and
there is no
based
finding.
on which you
So
define your
such paper is often
actors.
overlooked. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
It is often overlooked, and people leave it to the time. But it
yes.
is as important as it can be. So
Mm,
thank you all. Thank you participants. Thank you Dr. Kanupriya Gupta, Dr. Anwar
thank
for organizing the session. Tomorrow we'll be having our last day of the FDP, and tomorrow I'm going to take your session on conducting one-way ANOVA in SPSS. So one-way ANOVA is a technique, a statistical technique to know whether two groups they differ significantly or not. So this technique is almost used in all kinds of research papers to some degree, and almost in all kind of theses. So be sure that you are present there, and also make sure that you fill the feedback form for today's session, and also be sure that you have written your short research proposal, which we have emphasized again and again, that by the end of this FDP, all the participants are required to submit a short research proposal of their choice. So thank you all. If you have any further question, you can directly get in touch with Dr. Kanupriya Gupta.
Thank
So
you, Dr. Danish. Thank you
thank
for
you, ma'am.
this platform where I could express some of my views and my learnings through my PhD. And I'm thankful to you as well for have given me an opportunity to collaborate and talk with the young researchers available here for today's session. So we'll definitely be looking
So, ma'am,
forward to
actually,
organize such
we
sessions.
have two more questions from Zakia. Zakia, first, she has asked, should we include the work of unstandard journals? So,
Basically, no. The rule of thumb should be no. If good journals are available, go for good journals. But in case no good journal is talking about this and you find some reference in some unknown article which has not been published somewhere in good journals, then you may take it. But otherwise, if it is a widely researched area and you're easily getting information from the good journals, go for it. If the specific thing that you want to know and is there uh, in some unacknowledged work, then you might take it. And then Anshu is asking, can we include industry reports in LR? Yes, definitely yes. In the quantitative research, mostly the reports published by the companies themselves, the reports published by the government, the reports published by the consultancy agencies are also included, but with proper references. You need to give a detailed reference to it. From where did you find the report? On which date even you accessed that report? Why? Because if you've given the reference and you've given the website from where you got this report, and somebody goes to that same link to get that report, and that report is not there, it will raise a question on your integrity, whether you have included it in a right manner, whether you have been true in reporting from where did you get the report or not. So always after writing the reference to that report, mention the website from where you got that, the complete link to that document and the date as well. You accessed that report on which date, so that if that report gets deleted for any reason, or the company deletes it and somebody tries to find out afterward and he may not find, then the question on your integrity might not be raised.
Just to add one more thing, Himanshu, actually you can give reference, you can cite anything you like to, anywhere from from wherever you got your information, you can cite that thing. Even the researchers cite even interviews, they cite websites, they cite magazines. So just as Kanupriya ma'am said, that you just need to make sure that you have followed proper referencing rule. So you can cite whatever you want to. You just need to present a proof of it. So, and in a particular format. This format is available on the journal website. Most of the journals, the reputed journals, they tell you that how you need to cite various types of sources, how you need to cite articles, websites, or interviews, or videos, or some other thing. So I hope this has answered your question. Zakia has asked, arrange some session of time series analysis. So see, Zakia, actually we are running on a very very strict schedule. So we are looking forward to organize these kinds of FDPs in future. Maybe next month or the month coming after that. Definitely, we are going to organize a FDP solely focused on research techniques. So in that particular FDP, maybe we can include time series analysis, regression, structured equation modeling, and other kind of statistical analysis. Okay, so thank you all once again. Thank you, Dr. Kanupriya Gupta, Dr. Anwar, and all the participants.